Hello and welcome to the one thing you need to know about your retirement plan now. During turbulent times, it's critically important to have a roadmap to retirement success. As experienced retirement advisors and retirement coaches, we know that approaching and entering retirement and staying retired can be very scary, especially during turbulent market conditions. So, planning ahead and having a plan in place well in advance of turbulent times is critically important to outcome. To have a durable, sustainable, predictable, and lifetime income, you need to plan ahead. So, we're going to talk about the one thing you need to know now as it relates to this. But before we do so, let's talk about the difference between accumulating money for retirement and distributing it. We have a brief presentation of a typical market cycle. We know markets go up and they go down. When you're accumulating money during a cycle, a downturn cycle, it's actually not a bad thing. Let me explain why. Let's pretend that you are putting $1,000 a month away towards your retirement, and at the peak of a market, your $1,000 is buying your favorite mutual fund at $100 a share. You're buying 10 shares. We're doing this to keep the math simple. In a typical market drawdown, if you have the intestinal fortitude to continue to put away your $1,000 and your shares, your favorite mutual fund bottom out at $10 a share, you're now buying 100 shares with that $1,000. When the market rebounds, which historically it always has, your 100 shares return to a value of $100 a share, which is a very good thing, as Martha Stewart might say. We call this dollar cost averaging. And when you're contributing or accumulating money for retirement, these types of cycles really are not harmful, but actually helpful. But let's take a look at the same market cycle, and instead of contributing, you're taking money out for retirement. So here we have the same example, $1,000 a month. At the top of a market, you have to sell 10 shares to raise your $1,000. As the market goes down and eventually bottoms out, if your need for money has not changed and your plan has not, you have to sell 100 shares to raise the same $1,000 if it's selling at $10 a share. Now, oftentimes we see individuals using index funds, target date funds, passive type of investing, even when they enter retirement. That passive type of investing works out quite well when you're accumulating money. But without a real plan as to how you might satisfy your income need, a passive fund could result in dollar cost ravishing and could be a very bad thing. Unfortunately, many advisors do not change, or they don't even know the need to change when they're advising their clients as to how to approach retirement income as opposed to retirement accumulation. Accumulation versus distribution are quite different. Let's reinforce this with another example. Here we see a risk of retirement called risks of returns. If we'll see here, the column on the left has a positive return in the early phase of accumulation in our example. The column on the right has a negative return. But if you'll notice, the returns are exactly the same, they're just in reverse. So at the end of the cycle on the right-hand side, it's a positive return. At the end of the cycle on the left-hand side, it's a negative return. The average is 5.4%. And for Jim and Mary and Bob and Barbara, the outcome is exactly the same, growing their $100,000 to $269. When you're saving for retirement, the sequence of returns really is a moot point. But let's take a look at the exact same example. Instead of saving, we're now taking money for retirement, and why planning is so critically important. So we have the same exact example, $100,000 starting balance. On the left-hand side, we have positive returns early in the cycle. On the right-hand side, we have negative returns. We're taking out 4%, an arbitrary 4% without a plan, which has been a rule of thumb, the 4% rule, adjusting for inflation to create a sustainable retirement income. But as we see here, it's not so sustainable. Poor Barb and Barbara entered retirement at exactly the wrong time. Having a negative return early in retirement resulted in them running out of money, as opposed to Jim and Mary, who had money for 21 years and still had nearly $186,000 left in the account. Yes, planning, the way that you accumulated money is much different than the way you distribute it whenever it comes to retirement income. And this takes us to the one thing you need to know now whenever it comes to retirement income planning. Many advisors talk about asset allocation, but very few talk about asset location. And we think that asset location is one of the most critical things that you need to know about your retirement plan. Here we simply explain it with a yellow bucket, a red bucket, and a green bucket. As retirement income experts, we believe that it's critically important to have money in your checking that's deposited into your checking account every month to cover your bills. We call this the yellow bucket. Generally, for most retirees, that's their Social Security and perhaps a pension, but they have a strategy, a plan to systematically have deposits made into your checking account to create peace of mind of knowing you're going to pay your bills. The second aspect of this is our red bucket, or money in the bank for emergencies, no matter what that emergency may be. So having the money deposited monthly into your checking account, having money for an emergency, allows you to grow a part of your retirement assets over a longer term, reducing, not eliminating, the fear associated with the ups and downs of the market. Obviously, having long-term investments is critical to the long-term success of your plan, because we know we need to grow dollars to keep pace with inflation, and money that is relatively liquid generally won't do that. But why is having a plan so critically important whenever it comes to retirement income? Especially a plan that can help you to have some relative peace of mind when you turn on CNBC or Fox Business or whatever channel you see, and you see the market in turmoil and you don't panic. Well, the reason why is shown in this historical data. An investment of $10,000 in the S&P 500 in October of 2002, finishing in December of 2018, would have grown to almost $43,000. However, if that same $10,000 investment missed just the 5 best months during that entire time frame, the return would have been cut nearly in half, down to $27,335 or $355. And often, history shows that the best months follow the worst months, which recent history has shown that. We had record downturns and record returns followed in a matter of days. So having the ability to not make emotional decisions, having the ability to have money to pay your bills, money for an emergency, so you can write out the long-term results of what the market has historically done, is critical to a successful retirement plan. To reinforce that, let's see what occurred for many individuals during the Great Recession. The gray line represents an investor that reacted emotionally during 2007 to 2018. During that time, they panicked, got out of the market, stayed out until they thought it was time to get back in, as opposed to a person represented in the green line that stayed in the entire time. If, in our example here, $1 was invested during that time, and you had the emotional fortitude to stay invested the entire time, that dollar would have grown to $2.3 over this time period. As opposed to getting out, staying out until you thought it was time to get back in, that grew to only $1.4, nearly 100% difference in results. So the bottom line here is you need to have a plan to stay emotionally invested and not make emotional decisions when we go through market turmoil like we have historically done. As retirement income coaches, we know that retirement can be one of the most exciting times and one of the most terrifying times in one's life. But having a plan that will create sustainable, reliable, predictable lifetime income will help you have the peace of mind of knowing your bills will be paid, you'll have an emergency fund, and you can stay invested over the long haul to keep pace with inflation. Through our decades of experience, we've created a white paper to help you avoid retirement risks and also uncover unique opportunities. For everyone at the workshop today, we are going to give you the opportunity to claim this white paper simply by replying to the email you're going to get after the workshop. As retirement coaches, we can help you navigate all the ins and outs of retirement, helping to create peace of mind and certainty in an uncertain world. We thank you for your time, and we look forward to providing the white paper for you.